I caught my husband cheating with my sister, so I destroyed his career at his own awards ceremony. My husband was sleeping with my sister. For 18 months, they carried on an affair right under my nose, in our home, in our bed, while I was building a business that had both our names on it. He was a luxury real estate executive, the golden boy of our city's high-end property market. She was my baby sister, the one I'd protected and supported her entire life. But when I found out, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. Instead, I planned. And when the moment was right, at the annual Realtor Awards ceremony where my husband was receiving Executive of the Year, I stood up in front of 300 of his colleagues, clients, and competitors, and I told them exactly who he really was. My name is Miranda, and this is the story of how I turned betrayal into the fuel that built my empire, how I watched a cheater lose everything he valued, and how I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's making sure everyone knows the truth. What happened after that night? My husband lost his job, his reputation, and every friend he thought he had. My sister lost our parents' support and respect. And me? I walked away with the business we'd built together, renamed it, and turned it into the most successful luxury interior design firm in the state. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it really started. Back to the moment I thought I had everything, right before I discovered it was all built on lies. Act 1. The perfect life, that wasn't building dreams together. I met Blake 8 years ago at an open house. I was 26, working as an assistant for a small interior design firm, and he was 29, a rising star in luxury real estate. The house was a mid-century modern masterpiece in the hills, and I'd been sent to scout it for a potential client. Blake was the listing agent. "This house is wasted on my client," he said, walking up to me as I stood in the living room, mentally redesigning the entire space. "They want to gut it and rebuild. They don't see what it could be." "I see it," I said, turning to face him. He was tall, confident, with the kind of smile that made you want to trust him. Original terrazzo floors restored, the kitchen opened up but keeping the vintage tile. Those windows cleaned and reframed to showcase the view. His eyes lit up. "You get it. Most people don't get it." We talked for 2 hours. About architecture, about design, about the intersection of real estate and aesthetics. He took me to dinner that night. 3 months later, we were living together. 2 years after that, we were married. Blake specialized in luxury properties, estates, penthouses, architectural gems that sold for millions. I'd left my assistant job and started freelancing, doing staging and design consultations for his listings. We were a perfect team. His eye for properties, my vision for transforming them. His connections with wealthy clients, my ability to help them see the potential. "We should make this official," he said one night, 3 years into our marriage. "Start our own company. Blake and Miranda Luxury Consultants. I find the properties, you make them irresistible." We split everything 50-50. I loved the idea. I loved him. I loved the life we were building. We incorporated the business, got a small office, hired an assistant. Within a year, we were the go-to team for luxury real estate in the city. Blake would scout properties, negotiate deals, and I would stage them, design the marketing materials, create the aspirational lifestyle story that made wealthy buyers open their checkbooks. The business exploded. We went from doing 10 properties a year to 50. Blake's reputation grew. He started getting invited to speak at conferences, to sit on boards, to hobnob with developers and investors. I didn't mind that he was the public face of our success. I was busy with the creative work, the part one actually loved. We bought a beautiful house in an exclusive neighborhood. We took vacations to Europe. We had couple friends, dinner parties, a wine collection. From the outside, we had everything. But I was so focused on building our empire that I missed the signs. Or maybe I didn't want to see them. My sister moves in. My sister Kara is 5 years younger than me. Growing up, I was the responsible one and she was the wild one. I made good grades and planned for the future. She partied through high school and barely graduated. I went to college and worked multiple jobs to pay for it. She bounced between retail jobs and musician boyfriends who never worked out. Our parents tried to be fair, but I could see the strain Kara put on them. The late-night phone calls asking for money. The drama with boyfriends. The inability to hold down a job or stick with anything long-term. I'd bailed her out more times than I could count, and I'd done it without resentment because that's what big sisters do. You protect your baby sister. You help her even when she makes the same mistakes over and over. 3 years ago, Kara called me crying. Another boyfriend had kicked her out. Another job had let her go. She was 27 years old, broke, and sleeping on a friend's couch. I don't know what to do, she sobbed. I have nowhere to go. Blake and I had just bought our house. We had plenty of space. Come stay with us, I said without even consulting him. Just until you get on your feet. When I told Blake, he smiled that generous smile I loved. Of course she can stay. She's family. We have the space. Kara moved into our guest suite with a promise that it would be temporary. Just a few months, she said. I'll get a job, save up, get my own place. I promise. Blake helped her write her resume. I helped her shop for interview clothes. She got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. Things seemed to be looking up. But a few months turned into 6, then a year, then longer. She was saving money, she said. Trying to pay off old debts. Looking for the right apartment. I didn't mind. She was family. She helped around the house, was good company when Blake traveled for work, and had finally seemed to be getting her life together. She even started taking some community college classes in marketing, talking about maybe making something of herself. Blake was kind to her. He'd give her career advice, help her with her coursework, drive her places when her car broke down. I thought it was sweet how well they got along. I thought I was lucky to have a husband who welcomed my sister into our home without complaint. I was working long hours on the business. We'd taken on some major projects, a $12 million estate that needed complete staging, a penthouse downtown that required custom everything. I'd be at the house all day measuring, coordinating with contractors, designing custom pieces. Then I'd come home exhausted and find Blake and Kara watching a movie or cooking dinner together. You work too hard, Blake would say, kissing my forehead. Kara and I made pasta. Go take a bath and relax. I thought I was lucky. I thought I had a supportive husband and a sister who was finally maturing. I thought our happy little household was proof that family and business could coexist beautifully. I was so wrong. The signs were there. I just didn't see them. Blake's phone face down on the counter constantly. Kara suddenly needing to run errands at the same time Blake had showings. The way they'd both go silent when I walked into a room, like I'd interrupted a conversation. Blake's sudden interest in going to the gym at odd hours. Kara's new expensive clothes that she claimed came from a thrift store. But I trusted him. I trusted her. I trusted that the two people I loved most in the world would never betray me. That trust was the most expensive mistake I ever made. T2. The discovery. The forgotten phone. It was a Tuesday morning in October when my entire world collapsed. I remember the date because it was our 6th wedding anniversary. Blake had kissed me goodbye that morning, said he had back-to-back showings all day but he'd made us a reservation at my favorite restaurant for dinner. Wear that blue dress I love, he said. I'd been working on a proposal for a potential client, a tech CEO who wanted to buy a $15 million estate and have it completely redesigned. This was the kind of project that could take our business to the next level. I'd been up until 2 a.m. the night before working on the presentation, and Blake had promised he'd review it before the afternoon meeting. At 10 a.m., I realized I'd left some fabric samples at home that I needed for another client meeting at noon. I drove back to the house, let myself in quietly. Kara was still sleeping as far as I knew, and I didn't want to wake her. But as I walked down the hallway toward my office, I heard something. Sounds coming from our bedroom. My first thought was that we'd been broken into. My second thought, the one that made my blood run cold, was recognition. I stood outside my own bedroom door and heard my husband's voice. And my sister's voice, and sounds that were unmistakable. I should have burst in. I should have screamed. I should have done something dramatic. But instead, I stood there in complete silence, my hand on the doorknob, listening to the two people I loved most in the world betray me in the most intimate way possible. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. Time stopped meaning anything. Finally, I backed away from the door, walked back down the hallway, and left the house as quietly as I'd entered. I sat in my car in the driveway and tried to breathe. My chest felt like it was caving in. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't hold my phone. I thought I might vomit. I thought I might scream. I thought I might drive my car into a wall just to make the pain stop. But then something else kicked in. Something cold and clear and sharp. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The calculating kind. The kind that makes you dangerous. I drove to a coffee shop, ordered a drink I didn't want, and sat in a corner booth. I made myself think clearly. If I confronted them now, Blake would apologize, Kara would cry, and they'd promise it was a mistake, it would never happen again, please forgive us. And part of me, the part that had loved him for 8 years and protected her for 31, might actually consider it. No, I needed to know everything. How long had this been going on? How many times? Where else? Who knew? I needed evidence. I needed to understand the full scope of the betrayal before I decided how to burn it all down. I wiped my eyes, straightened my spine, and started planning. Gathering evidence. I went to my client meeting. I smiled and presented my proposal and landed the $15 million estate project. I functioned on autopilot, some part of my brain that could compartmentalize trauma and still negotiate contract terms. That evening, I went home and got ready for our anniversary dinner. I put on the blue dress. I did my makeup. I smiled when Blake complimented me. I let him hold my hand across the table at the restaurant. I laughed at his stories. I thanked him for the expensive necklace he gave me, probably bought with money from our joint business account, I realized with bitter irony. When he kissed me goodnight, I didn't flinch. When Kara texted me from the house asking if we'd had a nice time, I texted back a heart emoji. And then I started investigating. I knew Blake's phone passcode, we'd never hidden them from each other. The next morning, while he was in the shower, I cloned his phone to mine using software I'd found online. Every text, every email, every photo, I now had access to all of it. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. The affair had been going on for 18 months. 18 months of lies. It had started innocently, according to their early messages. Late-night conversations when I was asleep. Blake complaining about work stress, Kara being a sympathetic ear. Then the conversations got more personal, more flirtatious, then explicit. The first time they'd slept together was in our bed, on a Saturday when I'd driven 3 hours to meet with a client. They'd joked about it in their texts. Your bed is more comfortable than the guest room, Kara had written. I read through months of messages, my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. They'd been together in our house at least twice a week. They'd gone to hotels when they wanted to be extra careful. They'd met up during his showings and her errands. They'd been together while I was working 18-hour days to build our business. Blake had told her he loved her, that he was going to leave me eventually, but he needed to wait for the right time. Miranda would get half the business in a divorce, he'd written. I need to figure out how to protect my assets first. Kara had sent him photos, videos, things I couldn't unsee, didn't want to see, but forced myself to document anyway. They'd talked about me. She's so focused on work, she doesn't even notice, Blake had written. Sometimes I think she loves the business more than me. She's always been more about her career than relationships, Kara had responded. Even growing up, she was more interested in getting ahead than having fun. The cruelty of it took my breath away. Not just the affair, but the casual dismissal of who I was. The business I'd been killing myself for was our business. The work I was doing was for us. And they'd turned my dedication into a character flaw that justified their betrayal. I found out other things too. Blake had been skimming money from the business account, not huge amounts, but enough. 500 here, 1,000 there. Marked as client entertainment or business development, but actually going toward hotel rooms and gifts for Kara. Valuable than his client relationships and industry connections. He was planning to leave me. He was planning to take the business we'd built together. He was planning to do it all while sleeping with my sister in our bed. I spent a week gathering evidence. I took screenshots of everything. I documented the hotel charges. I found receipts. I traced the money. And I started consulting with my own lawyer, a woman who specialized in business dissolution and high-asset divorces. You have a strong case, she told me after reviewing everything. The affair with a household member, the financial impropriety, the fact that you can document your contributions to the business. He's screwed. I don't just want the business, I told her. I want his reputation destroyed. I want everyone in his precious industry to know exactly who he is. She raised an eyebrow. That's not usually my territory, but I understand the impulse. What did you have in mind? I told her about the annual Realtor Awards ceremony. It was in 3 weeks. Blake was nominated for Executive of the Year, an award he'd been campaigning for all year. It was the biggest event in the local real estate industry. 300 people, every major realtor, broker, developer, and luxury client in the city. It was televised on the local business channel. It was the culmination of everything Blake had been working toward. I'm going to that ceremony, I said, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows who they're really celebrating. My lawyer looked at me for a long moment. I can't officially advise you to do anything that might be considered defamation or harassment. It's not defamation if it's true, I said. She smiled slightly. No, it's not. I went home that night and had dinner with my husband and my sister. We talked about the awards ceremony. Blake was nervous, he said. Excited but nervous. This could really put us on the map, he said, squeezing my hand. This could change everything for the business. Yes, I agreed, smiling at him. It's definitely going to change everything. Kara asked if she could come to the ceremony. I'd love to support you guys, she said, her eyes wide and innocent. Of course, I said sweetly. You absolutely should be there. Your family. They had no idea what was coming. They thought they were clever, careful, untouchable. They thought I was too busy working, too trusting, too naive to ever figure it out. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. ACT 3. The trap is set. 3 weeks of performance. Those 3 weeks were the hardest of my life. I had to pretend everything was normal. I had to kiss my husband goodbye every morning knowing he'd probably meet my sister for a hotel room rendezvous. I had to listen to Kara talk about a guy she was supposedly interested in, knowing she was lying to my face. I had to smile and plan and act like the devoted wife and supportive sister. But behind the scenes, I was orchestrating something much bigger. I worked with my lawyer to file divorce papers that would be served immediately after the awards ceremony. We drafted a business dissolution agreement that would give me primary ownership of the company based on my creative contributions and his financial impropriety. We prepared restraining orders to keep both Blake and Kara away from my home and business. I also hired a private investigator to continue documenting the affair. I wanted fresh evidence, recent proof. The Pie got photos of Blake and Kara meeting at a hotel downtown. Video of them kissing in the parking lot. Time-stamped documentation that the affair was active and ongoing. I met with our business accountant and explained the situation. She'd always liked me better than Blake anyway. I knew something was off about those expenses, she said, pulling up records. I can document every questionable withdrawal. And I can testify to the fact that your design work is what drives the business value. Blake's good at sales, but you create the product they're selling. I quietly contacted our biggest clients, the ones I'd worked with directly on their homes. I told them that there might be some changes coming to the business structure, but that I wanted to assure them personally that their projects would continue without interruption. Most of them said some version of, honestly, Miranda, we work with your company because of you. Blake's fine, but you're the talent. That was validating in a way I hadn't expected. I'd spent years thinking of Blake as the essential one, the face of the business. But when it came down to it, the clients valued my work more than his schmoozing. I also did something else. I contacted the local business journal and the television station that would be covering the awards ceremony. I have a story you might be interested in, I told them. About corruption in the luxury real estate industry. About an Executive of the Year nominee who's been embezzling from his own business and conducting an affair that compromises his professional ethics. They were very interested. At home, I played my part perfectly. I helped Blake pick out his tuxedo for the awards ceremony. I listened to him practice his acceptance speech. I even gave him notes on it. Maybe add something about integrity, I suggested with a straight face. You know, about how trust is the foundation of luxury real estate. He loved that. He added a whole section about how his success was built on trustworthiness and ethical business practices. Kara asked me to help her find a dress for the ceremony. We went shopping together, just like we used to do before she destroyed our relationship. She tried on dresses and asked my opinion, and I smiled and told her she looked beautiful. Blake will be so happy to have both of us there, she said. Yes, I agreed. It'll be a night none of us will ever forget. I bought myself a new dress too. Red, bold, powerful, the kind of dress that commands attention. If I was going to blow up my life and my husband's career in front of 300 people, I was going to look absolutely stunning while doing it. The day of the awards ceremony was a Saturday in early November. I woke up next to Blake, watched him sleep peacefully, the sleep of someone with no idea his entire life was about to implode, and felt absolutely nothing. No love, no anger, just cold determination. Blake was nervous and excited all day. He kept checking his phone, practicing handshake greetings in the mirror, adjusting his bow tie. Kara came over to get ready at our house. The two of them kept exchanging little looks they thought I didn't see. Secret smiles, knowing glances. "I'm so proud of you, babe," I told Blake as we were leaving for the venue. I adjusted his bow tie and kissed his cheek. "You've worked so hard for this." "We've worked hard for this," he corrected, pulling me close. "I couldn't have done any of it without you. You're my partner in everything." The lie rolled off his tongue so easily. I wondered how many times he'd lied to me over the past 18 months. Hundreds? Thousands? "Yes," I said, "partners in everything. That's why tonight is going to be so special." We arrived at the hotel ballroom where the ceremony was being held. It was elegant, crystal chandeliers, round tables with white linens, a stage with a podium and a massive screen for presentations. The room was already filling up with people in black tie attire. Blake's colleagues, his competitors, our clients, industry reporters, local business leaders. Blake worked the room like the professional he was, shaking hands, making jokes, introducing me to people I'd met a dozen times before. I smiled and played the supportive wife. Kara stayed close to us, playing the loving sister, occasionally touching Blake's arm in ways that would look innocent to anyone who didn't know better. I knew the moment the reporters from the Business Journal and the TV station arrived. They spotted me immediately. I'd sent them my photo, and positioned themselves strategically. I'd briefed them on what was going to happen. They had their cameras ready. We sat at a table near the front. Blake, me, Kara, and 5 of Blake's colleagues from other firms. Dinner was served. Awards for various categories were announced and presented. Blake was getting more nervous as we got closer to his category. "You've got this," I whispered to him, squeezing his hand. Finally, they announced the Executive of the Year category. They showed a video highlighting each nominee's achievements. Blake's segment featured photos of our properties, clients giving testimonials, shots of him at industry events. They used the company name, Blake and Miranda Luxury Consultants, but Blake was the only one in most of the photos. That was about to change. And the winner is. The presenter, a local news anchor, opened the envelope. Blake Morrison of Blake and Miranda Luxury Consultants. The room erupted in applause. Blake stood, buttoned his jacket, kissed my cheek, and walked to the stage. He shook the presenter's hand, accepted the Crystal Award, and stepped up to the microphone. "Wow," he started, his voice full of emotion. "This is truly an honor. I've been working in luxury real estate for over a decade, and to be recognized like this by my peers means everything." He went into his prepared speech, thanking his mentors, his clients, the industry. Then he got to the part about integrity. "Success in our business is built on trust," he said, his voice earnest. "Our clients trust us with their most valuable assets and their dreams for their futures. That trust is sacred. It's why I've always believed that integrity and ethical practices aren't just good business, they're the only way to do business." The irony was so thick I almost laughed. Instead, I stood up. Blake saw me standing and smiled, probably thinking I was moved by his speech. "And of course, I have to thank my beautiful wife Miranda," he continued. "She's been my partner in building this business, and none of this would be possible without." "I have something to say," I announced loudly, cutting him off. The room went silent. Blake's smile froze. "Honey, I'm in the middle of." "I know exactly what you're in the middle of," I said, walking toward the stage. My heels clicked on the marble floor. Every eye in the room was on me. And I think everyone here deserves to know the truth about the man they just honored. I reached the stage and took the microphone from Blake's hand. He was too shocked to resist. I turned to face the audience of 300 people. "My name is Miranda Morrison," I said, my voice clear and steady. "I'm Blake's wife and business partner. I'm also the person who's been carrying this company while Blake has been busy sleeping with my sister for the past 18 months. The room erupted. Gasps, shocked murmurs, chairs scraping. I saw Kara's face go white. Blake's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Wait," he started to say. "I'm not done," I said sharply. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the presentation screen behind us. "I have evidence. Months of text messages, photos, hotel receipts. All time-stamped, all documented, including messages where Blake discusses how he plans to divorce me and structure the business dissolution to cheat me out of what I built." The screen behind us lit up with a slideshow I'd prepared. Screenshots of their texts, explicit enough to prove the affair but edited to remove the most graphic content. Photos of them together, hotel receipts, financial records showing the money Blake had been skimming. The room was in chaos now. People were standing, pulling out their phones, talking loudly. The reporters were filming everything. Blake tried to grab the microphone from me, but I stepped back. Blake Morrison built his reputation on trust and integrity, I continued. But he's been lying to his wife, stealing from his business, and conducting an affair with a family member living in our home. These are the ethics of your executive of the year. I looked directly at Blake. His face was red, sweating, panicked. You said success is built on trust. You're right, and you destroyed every ounce of trust anyone should have in you. I turned back to the audience. As of Monday morning, I will be filing for divorce and dissolving our business partnership. I will be retaining primary ownership of the company based on my documented contributions and Blake's financial impropriety. The company will be renamed Miranda Stone Design, my maiden name, and will continue to serve our existing clients without interruption. I pulled out a folder and held it up. I have copies of all the evidence for anyone who wants to verify what I'm saying. I also have statements from our business accountant and several of our major clients who've confirmed they work with our company primarily because of my design work, not Blake's sales skills. I looked at Kara, who was crying at our table, and to my sister, who lived in my home, ate my food, and slept with my husband in my bed. You're no longer welcome in my life. Mom and Dad will be hearing all about this. I'm sure you can imagine how that conversation will go. I set the microphone down on the podium, walked off the stage, grabbed my purse from our table, and headed for the door. As I left, I could hear the chaos erupting behind me. Voices shouting questions at Blake. Reporters swarming the stage. Kara sobbing. I walked out of that ballroom with my head held high, got in my car, and drove away from the burning wreckage of my marriage. And I felt nothing but relief. ACT 4. The fallout. The first 72 hours. The video went viral overnight. Someone in the audience had filmed the whole thing on their phone and posted it to social media. By Sunday morning, real estate executive exposed for affair at awards ceremony was trending locally and starting to spread nationally. The business news outlets picked it up. Then the gossip sites. Then the mainstream news. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. I turned it off. I'd spent Saturday night at a hotel. Not the one where the ceremony was held, but a different one across town. I'd already packed bags for myself and had them in my car before we'd even left for the ceremony. I'd planned everything. Sunday morning, I met with my lawyer. We reviewed the divorce papers, the business dissolution documents, everything. You know this is going to get ugly, she warned me. He's going to fight back. He's going to try to paint you as vindictive, unstable, trying to destroy him. Let him try, I said. I have all the evidence. And now 300 witnesses saw him accept an award for integrity minutes before I proved he had none. She smiled. You're going to be fine. Better than fine. Monday morning, Blake was served with divorce papers at what used to be our office. I'd arranged to have the locks changed over the weekend. I'd also changed all the business account passwords, secured our client files, and sent a professional letter to all our clients explaining the situation in clinical, business terms. Due to irreconcilable differences and Blake Morrison's violation of our partnership agreement, we are dissolving our business relationship. I will be continuing to serve your design needs under a new company name, Miranda Stone Design. All existing contracts and project timelines will be honored. I apologize for any confusion this may cause and appreciate your continued trust. I included a link to a statement on a new website I'd had built over the past 3 weeks. The statement laid out the facts professionally, the affair, the financial impropriety, the business dissolution, without being inflammatory. I included enough evidence to prove my claims but kept it focused on the business implications. By Monday afternoon, I'd heard from almost every one of our clients. And every single one of them said they wanted to continue working with me, not Blake. Blake tried to call me 47 times that first day. I blocked his number. He sent emails that went to a folder my lawyer monitored. He showed up at the hotel where I'd been staying, but I'd already checked out and moved to a corporate apartment. He posted a statement on social media claiming I'd humiliated him publicly, and that every relationship has problems that should be worked out privately. He claimed I was vindictive and unstable. He said the business was as much his as mine and that he'd fight for his fair share. The internet destroyed him. Comments on every post. Fair share? You were cheating with her sister. Integrity Award winner can't keep his pants zipped. play stupid games, win stupid prizes. His professional reputation was in tatters. The real estate board opened an ethics investigation. Several of his industry partnerships were terminated. His brokerage firm, one of the largest in the city, put him on indefinite leave, pending an internal review, which everyone knew was corporate speak for, "You're about to be fired." Family fractures. My parents found out from the news. They called me Sunday morning, horrified and confused. What happened? What is this video everyone's sending us? I told them everything. Every detail. 18 months of lies, the affair in my own bed, Blake's plans to cheat me out of the business, Kara's casual cruelty in their text messages. My mother cried. My father was silent for a long time, then said, "We need to come there. Now, can we come see you?" They drove 5 hours to reach me. We met at my lawyer's office, where I showed them everything. All the evidence, all the messages, all the proof. My mother held my hand and cried. My father's face got harder and harder with each screenshot. "I can't believe she did this to you," my mother said. "After everything you've done for her. After you took her in, helped her, supported her. She's called us 30 times, my father said, his voice tight with anger. Crying, saying you humiliated her, that she and Blake love each other, that you don't understand. What did you tell her?" I asked. "I haven't answered," he said. "I wanted to talk to you first. But now that I know the truth?" He shook his head. "She's not welcome in our home. Not until she can explain how she justified this. And honestly, I don't think there's any explanation that would be good enough." My mother looked broken. "How'd I have 2 daughters and one of them could do this to the other?" "It's not your fault," I told her. "Kara made her choices. Blake made his. I'm just done protecting people who don't deserve it." They stayed with me for 3 days. They helped me move into a new apartment, a beautiful loft downtown that became both my home and my new business office. They helped me set up, unpack, start rebuilding. Kara kept trying to contact them. Kept trying to contact me. She sent long text messages claiming she never meant to hurt me, that she and Blake had fallen in love and couldn't help themselves, that I was being cruel and vindictive. My mother finally responded to her, "You had an affair with your sister's husband in her own home. You betrayed the person who has done more for you than anyone. Until you can take actual responsibility for what you've done, we have nothing to say to each other." Kara showed up at my parents' house a week later. My father wouldn't let her in. "You're not welcome here," he told her through the door. "Not until you grow up and understand what you've done." She tried to make me the villain. She posted on social media about how I'd destroyed her relationship and turned her family against her. She claimed Blake had been unhappy with me for years, that I was cold and career obsessed, that they'd found real love together. Her friends turned on her. People she'd known for years commented things like, "You slept with your sister's husband and you're the victim," and "Maybe she was career obsessed because she was building something while you were betraying her." Blake and Kara tried to continue their relationship, now that it was out in the open. They moved in together. Blake had to leave our house per the restraining order, and Kara obviously couldn't come back. They got an apartment downtown, posted photos together, tried to present themselves as a couple who'd overcome obstacles to be together. It lasted 6 weeks. Turns out an affair is exciting when it's secret and forbidden. It's a lot less fun when it's public and you're both pariahs who destroyed their lives for it. They broke up messily, each blaming the other. Kara claimed Blake had promised to marry her, and then backed out. Blake claimed Kara was unstable and had seduced him. They fought publicly on social media like teenagers. It was pathetic. By Christmas, 2 months after the awards ceremony, Blake had been officially terminated from his brokerage firm. The ethics investigation found that he'd misrepresented himself to clients and misused business funds. His real estate license was suspended pending further review. Several clients were considering lawsuits for misrepresentation. Kara had lost her receptionist job when her boss saw the viral video. She couldn't find work anywhere. Everyone in our city knew who she was. She'd moved out of the apartment she shared with Blake and was living with a friend, from what I heard through the grapevine. Blake tried one last time to fight the business dissolution. His lawyer argued that he deserved 50% of the company value because we'd built it together. My lawyer presented documentation showing that 90% of our client retention was based on my work, that I'd created all the intellectual property and design systems, and that Blake had been stealing from the business for over a year. The judge wasn't impressed with Blake. You engaged in an affair with a household member, misappropriated business funds, and breached your fiduciary duty to your business partner, he said during the hearing. I'm awarding Ms. Stone primary ownership of the business with a buyout payment to Mr. Morrison of 15% of the current valuation, to be paid over 5 years. Blake had expected to get half of a business worth approximately $3 million. Instead, he got $450,000 paid over 5 years. After his lawyer fees, it was barely enough to live on. This is unfair, he said to me outside the courthouse. It was the first time I'd seen him in person since the awards ceremony. He looked terrible, like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. We built that business together. No, I said calmly. I built that business. You sold it, and now you've lost everything because you couldn't keep your pants zipped and your ethics intact. I loved you, he said, and his voice cracked. I know I screwed up, but I did love you. You loved what I could build for you, I corrected. You loved having a talented wife who made you look good and a successful business you could take credit for. But you didn't love me enough to be faithful. You didn't respect me enough to be honest. So you don't get to keep any of it. I walked away from him and never looked back. ACT 5. Rebuilding and Rising. Miranda Stone Design takes off. The first 6 months after the divorce were hard. Not because I missed Blake. I didn't, not even a little, but because building something new while dealing with the public aftermath of betrayal was exhausting. The story had spread beyond our city. I'd become a minor internet celebrity, the woman who exposed her cheating husband at his awards ceremony. People recognized me at grocery stores, restaurants, coffee shops. Most people were supportive. Good for you, they'd say. He deserved it, but some people thought I'd been too harsh, too public, too vindictive. They'd say things like, you destroyed his career over a personal matter, or, you could have handled it privately. I learned to smile and say, he destroyed his own career. I just made sure people knew the truth. But I channeled all that energy, the anger, the hurt, the public scrutiny, into my work. Miranda Stone Design launched officially in January, 3 months after the awards ceremony. I'd kept all our major clients. I'd hired 2 talented junior designers. I'd expanded our services beyond staging to include full interior design, architectural consulting, and luxury home renovation management. The $15 million estate project I'd landed right before discovering the affair? That became my showcase piece. I threw myself into it completely. The tech CEO who owned it gave me complete creative freedom. I've seen what you can do, he said. Make it spectacular. I did. I spent 6 months transforming that estate into something that belonged in Architectural Digest. Custom furniture, imported materials, innovative use of space and light. I documented the entire process, hired a professional photographer, and used it as the centerpiece of my new portfolio. When it was finished, it was stunning. The tech CEO was thrilled. He invited 200 people to a party at the house to show it off, and he made a speech about how I was the most talented designer he'd ever worked with. The photos got picked up by design magazines. I was invited to speak at industry conferences. Other high-profile clients reached out. Within a year, Miranda Stone Design had a waiting list. I hired more staff. I moved into a bigger office space, a converted warehouse in the Arts District with exposed brick, massive windows, and room for a design studio, conference rooms, and a showroom. I was working 70-hour weeks, but this time I was building something that was entirely mine. Something nobody could take from me. The business grew faster than I could have imagined. Year 1, we did $2.5 million in revenue. Year 2, $4.8 million. By year 3, we'd broken $8 million and I was turning down projects because we couldn't take on any more. I won awards. Real ones, not the kind given to cheating executives. Design awards, business awards, recognition for being a female entrepreneur in a competitive industry. When I accepted those awards, I gave speeches about resilience, about building something authentic, about how sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can become the catalyst for your greatest success. I never mentioned Blake by name in those speeches. I didn't have to. Everyone knew the story. Full circle moments. 2 years after the awards ceremony, I got invited back to speak at the same event. The organizers wanted me to give the keynote speech about overcoming adversity in business. I almost said no. The thought of going back to that ballroom where I'd blown up my life was overwhelming. But then I thought about it differently. That night, I'd felt humiliated and betrayed. If I went back now, successful and thriving, I'd be taking my power back completely. I accepted the invitation. The night of the event, I wore another red dress. Different from the first one, but just as bold. I walked into that ballroom with my head high, and the energy was electric. People stared, whispered, some applauded. I'd become a bit of a legend in the local business community. My speech was about resilience and authenticity. About how the worst betrayals can reveal what you're truly made of. About how sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something better. 3 years ago, I stood on this stage and exposed some hard truths, I said, looking out at the audience. Some of the same people who'd been there that night were in the crowd. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't quiet. It was messy and public and probably not what Emily Post would recommend. Laughter rippled through the room. But it was necessary. Because I'd spent years making myself smaller, quieter, less visible so that someone else could shine. I'd built something incredible and let someone else take credit for it. And when I discovered that same person was betraying me in the worst possible way, I had a choice. Handle it quietly and let him keep his reputation while I suffered in silence, or tell the truth and face the consequences. I paused, letting the weight of that sink in. I chose the truth. And yes, there were consequences. I became infamous. I lost my marriage, my sister, my sense of security. But I gained something more valuable, myself. My business, my voice, my power. I talked about building Miranda Stone Design from the ashes of that night. About the clients who'd chosen to stay with me. About the growth, the awards, the success that came from refusing to be diminished. The business I run now is 3 times the size of the one I lost, I said. It's more profitable, more creative, more authentic. Because it's built on truth, not performance. It's built on my actual talent, not on a partnership with someone who was undermining me. I wrapped up my speech with advice for the audience. If you find yourself in a situation where staying small serves someone else's ego, choose yourself. If you discover that the foundation you've built on is rotten, burn it down and start over. It's terrifying, but on the other side of that fear is the life you actually deserve. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. People approached me afterward with tears in their eyes, telling me their own stories of betrayal and rebuilding. Several women told me I'd inspired them to leave bad partnerships, business and personal. That night felt like closure. Not because I forgave Blake or Kara, I didn't, and probably never would, but because I'd proven that their betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. 3 years after that night, I ran into Blake at a coffee shop. I didn't recognize him at first. He'd gained weight, looked older, tired. He was in line ahead of me, and when he turned with his coffee, we made eye contact. Miranda, he said, and there was so much in that one word. Regret, shame, sadness. Blake, I said neutrally. I've been following your success, he said. The business is doing really well. I'm happy for you. Thank you, I said, not offering anything more. I'm working for a small firm now, he said, unprompted. Residential sales, nothing fancy. It's fine. It's a living. I nodded. I didn't need to know. I didn't care. I wanted to say, he started, then stopped. I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better. Yes, I agreed simply. I did. He looked like he wanted to say more, but I didn't give him the opening. I ordered my coffee, gave him a polite nod, and walked away. That was the last time I saw him. His real estate license was eventually reinstated after he completed ethics training and probation, but his reputation never recovered. He's not blacklisted exactly, but he's certainly not thriving. He's remarried, to someone none of us know, and apparently has a baby on the way. I heard this through mutual acquaintances and felt nothing. Not happiness for him, not resentment, just nothing. He's not part of my life anymore. Kara moved to another city about 3 years ago. From what I hear through my parents, she's working retail management and has finally started therapy to address her patterns of self-destruction. She sent me a letter 2 years ago, a long, handwritten apology that was probably part of some therapeutic assignment. She took responsibility for what she'd done, didn't make excuses, and said she didn't expect forgiveness but wanted me to know she understood the depth of her betrayal. I read it once and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll forgive her. Maybe I won't. Either way, she's not in my life, and I'm okay with that. My parents have maintained their boundaries with her. They talk occasionally, brief phone calls where Kara updates them on her life and they remain polite but distant. She's your sister, my mother said to me once. I'll always love her. But I'll never understand how she could do what she did to you. My parents and I are closer now than we've ever been. They tell me they're proud of me at least once a week. They visit often, help with my business when I need it, and have become my biggest cheerleaders. We always knew you were talented, my father said recently. But watching you build this empire on your own? That's been the privilege of our lives. It's uncomfortable, it's sometimes ugly, but it's powerful. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is refuse to be complicit in your own diminishment. I learned that I'd been making myself smaller for years to make Blake feel bigger. I'd let him be the face of our business, the name everyone remembered, the star of our success story. I'd done it because I thought that's what supportive partners did. But what I was really doing was erasing myself. When I rebuilt around my own name, my own vision, my own voice. And it turns out that when you stop shrinking yourself to fit someone else's ego, you can become absolutely magnificent. Final thoughts. I'm 36 now. I'm single. I've dated casually but haven't been in anything serious since Blake. I'm okay with that. I'm building something that matters to me. I'm surrounded by people I trust. I have a business I'm proud of, work that fulfills me, and a life that's entirely my own. Sometimes late at night, I think about that moment on stage at the awards ceremony. The moment I took the microphone and decided to burn everything down. It felt terrifying and necessary and liberating all at once. That woman in the red dress who stood up and told the truth. She saved my life. She gave me permission to stop performing the role of supportive wife and to start living as myself. She chose dignity over decorum, truth over politeness, and freedom over comfort. I'm grateful to her. I'm grateful to the pain that forced me to become her. To anyone watching this who's living in a situation built on lies, who's making themselves smaller to accommodate someone else's ego, who's suffering betrayal and wondering if they should stay quiet, don't. Tell your truth. Burn it down if you have to. Face the flames and walk through them. On the other side is a life you actually get to live. A success you actually earned. A story that's entirely, authentically yours. Blake took my marriage, my sister, and my sense of security. But he couldn't take my talent, my resilience, or my ability to rebuild something even better. In the end, he lost everything that mattered to him. And I gained everything that matters to me. That's not revenge. That's justice. That's the natural consequence of betraying someone who was strong enough to refuse to be diminished. I don't forgive Blake or Kara. But I do thank them, in a way. Because their betrayal forced me to become the woman I was always supposed to be. The woman who doesn't shrink. The woman who tells the truth. The woman who builds empires on her own terms. And honestly, that woman is pretty spectacular. Thank you for listening. Please hit like, comment, and share with someone who may need the affirmation to rise above adversity. Please subscribe for more stories.